This is the latest Remnant Fly. If you don't know what the Remnant Flies are, take a look down in the description down below and it'll explain to you. There's an introductory video. It's basically made up of remnant material, leftover material from other projects, other classes, and things like that. So in my scrap box, I found this cone here. This is called an Alaska brass cone by Hareline, and thought I would give it a shot. It's just a really, really big cone, so I had to get a really big hook for it. And in the process, it got me to thinking about flesh flies, which are popular up in Alaska for salmon. So I decided to just try my hand at making a flesh fly with a little bit of Arctic fox, some red rabbit, and some white marabou. And this is it. So that's the latest remnant fly. I'll go ahead and get started tying. I'm going to start the latest remnant fly. Right now I have my hook in the vise. I'm going to take it out in just a second. I'm pretty certain this is a Tiemco 811S, but this is a large Tiemco 811S. I'd say this is a 2 to 3/0 size hook. I don't know. It's a saltwater hook. I don't know if Tiemcos go up that high. Thing is, I had to get a large hook because of the cones that I'm going to use here. These are Alaska cones. Hareline provided these a long time ago in a sample pack that's in my remnant stuff. I don't know if they still make them or not, but it's a big cone compared to the normal size cones, and the opening on it's so big you got to make certain that you've got, a hook eye that won't get lost in there. So that's why I went with this. That's how this fly got started. Looking at that cone, I do want to go ahead and debarb the hook. I don't even know if the cone's going to go over the bend now that I think about it. But I'm going to take this out so that I can put that cone on there. As I said, at first I saw the cone and I thought, well, it would be interesting to do something with a large cone like that. I've never worked with anything quite this large. Actually, I have. There's some others that I've done, but I've never worked with the Alaska cones that Hareline had. I don't even know if they still make them. Anyway, and what it got me to thinking about on this large hook is a flesh fly. So here's the label from Hareline on this. I don't know what year I got this, but it's an Alaska brass cone. So just for reference, I got to thinking about this, and often when you're fishing for salmon up in Alaska, they'll use what are called flesh flies. Just very flowy, bushy flies, often of rabbit, marabou, things like this. As the fish basically are rotting up there in the streams, they're decomposing, chunks of them will, get washed downstream and everything. Well, other fish downstream will take swipes at them and things like this. So they have a bunch of different flies that they call their flesh flies. And that's what I thought we'd try today. So with my cone on there and the hook and the vise, I'm going to attach, this is a Danville 3/0 in white. It's a waxed monocord. I'm going to attach this right behind the bead. I'm going to run this down to the end of the shank and tie in my tail. Flesh flies usually are a heavily weighted fly, or at least they're not heavily weighted. They have heavy split shot on the line under a strike indicator or a couple of strike indicators as they are bouncing these down along the bottom. So this is basically going to be a red and white flesh fly. I don't know if these are the optimal colors for flesh flies or anything like that. I've never tied a flesh fly. I fished a few of them, but I've never tied one, so I just thought we would give it a shot. So this is some Arctic fox right here. I'm going to cut probably about half of this off the hide, kind of like this, pull that off. And this is going to be the tail section. Just very long tail section to it. Try and pull out some shorter fibers. Not a whole lot in there that are shorter fibers. And I'm going to tie this in right here at the back end. Wrapping all of that down real well. This will give me a nice tail that has a lot of movement and action to it, and hopefully won't get all hung up and fouled up in the hook that much. As I go along, I'm going to put some head cement on this, try and soak down in there and kind of make this a little bit more durable. Now, I was looking for something pink, orangish kind of thing for the body here. The upper end is going to have some marabou that's collared around to kind of flow around it a little bit, but I wanted a base color, so decided to go with some red, and this is just a regular red Zonker. I'm going to tie this in. I'm going to tie it in with the hide side up. Strap that in real well. I'm not really worried about this being nice and smooth because it's all going to get hidden. And then I'm going to bring this forward, not quite to the cone. I want to have this maybe about an eye length or so behind the cone to put in that marabou. I'm going to wrap this on in, stroking the hair rearward. I just want to get each wrap in front of the other one. I suppose you could put some Zap-A-Gap or something along there to glue that hide down a little bit if you want. Got to make certain you don't get it all in the hair as you're wrapping this in. But this will give me a nice base color underneath the white marabou in the front as well as the tail. Red is often used and often thought of as a good color in fly tying, fly and fishing in general. I think it's hit or miss because I think if you go too deep in the water, red is one of the first colors that is filtered out, depending on the composition of the water. So a lot of times what you think is going to be, a nice red under there that's going to attract fish as a gill flare, blood, or something like this, it turns black. It's just not there. Or it's dark. But I think this will, even if it's dark, it's going to be a nice contrast to the white. So head cement right in there to soak that down in there. And now we're going to collar in some marabou. I have two different marabou hackles here. I've got a wispy one that's got a lot of, the rachis on it's pretty thin so I can get a lot of wraps, and it has a lot of long barbs on it. And I have a shorter one so that if I don't have enough, I'm going to tie this in to get a little bit of a tighter collar right up in the front. For now, I'm just going to isolate not the tip, but maybe about a third of the way down that rachis. I'm going to tie that in, folding it back. I'm going to go ahead and use it. I want to go ahead and use all of it on here. Ends up being a messy fly. If you haven't seen the video I did on the popsicle, which is a very popular fly up in Alaska, this is very similar. It's just kind of a messy and bushy fly, and don't worry about making it really super neat. Also, another good one is the Gartside soft hackle, because it does the same thing. It wraps a marabou like this in and up the body to make a lot of the fly. Adds a lot of life to it. So I'm just going to stroke those barbs rearward as I wrap this forward. All I know about the flesh flies, like I said, the ones that I fished before, is they just had all kinds of movement to them, long, flowy, if that's a word, action to them. Now I'm getting into the stiffer part of that rachis, so I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. If you're trapping some of that in there, that's fine. Go ahead and trim the rest of that rachis out of there. I still have some space left, which I thought I was going to, and I'm going to tie in this other Marabou hackle that's a little bit shorter. That's just going to give me a kind of a stiffer collar on this. The effect here is that this will be flowing down. You got some white and some in the front and the back. You got the red on the inside, which is just going to add some color. It's going to push some water. That cone's going to get it down, bounce along. Some big old rainbow is going to say, "That's my lunch." So this next marabou feather, I'm going to isolate it by the tip. I'm going to tie that in just like I did the previous one, wrapping that backwards, using that tip, wrap forward. This is going to be a stiffer rachis, so I'm not going to get that much in there, and that's fine. I'm going to bring this right up in a couple of wraps to get right up behind that cone. That's about all I'm going to get in there. That rachis is kind of stiff inside there. That's fine. As long as I get that wrapped in, we're good. One more wrap for good measure. Now I want to sweep all this back, get a few wraps, just binding that in. I don't have to worry about filling that gap in because in just a moment, all that marabou will fill it in for me. I'm going to go ahead and do a whip finish by hand on this because my left hand can open all of this up. Trim away my thread. You got to be careful here when you do this. I want to get some head cement down inside that cone, but I don't want it all soaking back into that marabou. So as I'm doing this, I just want to make certain that I'm not flooding it to the point where all of that is oozing out, because it'll glue that marabou down. You could, if you want to, get some more of this Arctic box right here and maybe make a collar to fill that space up a little bit, jam that cone on a little bit better. I think it would be kind of nice to have that cone a little bit loose and rattling myself, but so that shorter barbs of that marabou actually give it a nice color there. So there is the latest remnant fly, a sort of flesh fly kind of thing with this Alaska brass cone on it. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.